Well, hello Year 5 and welcome to this week's flip lesson on mental addition. So all our activities this week are going to be about adding decimals in your head. So you're probably already wondering, where do I even start? So before we dive into decimals, let's have a look at a whole number problem. You can see here that we have two 3-digit numbers. We have 612 plus 236. And we want to find the sum, the total of these two numbers. Now, I could use this method that we're all really familiar with, a column addition. So where we start with the units column, the ones column, and we total. We find the total in that column, and then we move on to the tens column here, and we find the sum of the tens column. We write it here, and we find the sum of the hundreds column, and we write our answer here. Except in the real world, if I was having to add these two numbers together, I might not have a paper and a pencil to hand to be able to jot down that handy column addition. Remember, the column addition is a really efficient, really brilliant way of being able to add two numbers together. But this time we'll think about how we can do this just inside our head. So let's have a look at these two numbers and see what the digits in each number actually represent. 612. Well, we can all partition numbers, so let's do that. We've got 600s plus 110 plus 2 units, or 2 ones. And in our bottom number here, 236, we've got 2 hundreds, and we've got 3 tens, or 30, and we've got 6 ones. I'm going to show you a different way now to add these numbers together. And it's a bit unusual because actually we start with our hundreds, and then we count on to add our tens, and then we count on to add our units. So it's actually the other way around to our column addition. Okay, so let's get started here. We're going to start with 600s. So I'm going to jot that down. I've got 600, and I'm going to add to that 600 200s. Well, I know 600 adds 200 is going to give me 800. So I've got a running total just going along the bottom here. I've got 800 altogether. Now, if I then add 10 to that, I'm going to have 810. And then I'm going to add 3 more tens, 30. So I carry on 810, 820, 830, 840. So I now have a total of 840. Then I'm going to add on my units. So I've got 842. And then finally I'm going to add the units from this number, 6 more, so I can count on 6. I know 2 plus 6 is 8, so I know that my answer is going to be 848. So the answer to 612 plus 236 is going to be 848. And I can go ahead and pop that into my answer here, 848. So you're probably saying to yourself now, well, Miss, you have said we're going to do this with decimals. How on earth do I go about starting to do this with decimals? Well, the secret is really no secret at all. We do exactly the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to show you the same two numbers, but this time I've put in one of those devilish decimal points, and I'll show you how it works exactly the same way. Okay, so here we have it. We have 6.12 plus 2.36. Okay. Now, we know our decimal points are really, really important. They tell us the place value of these digits. Okay, so they are very, very important, and we mustn't forget to include them in our answer. But whilst we're adding in our head, we're kind of going to forget about them a little bit. Okay, just to help us with our addition. So I've rewritten out the problem here, and you can see I have taken out my decimal points. So we're going to do exactly the same as we did before. We're going to start with what's now our hundreds column, 6 plus 2. So we know we've got 800. I'm going to pop that down. And then we are going to add our tens. So I have 810, 820, 830, 840. So I'm going to jot that down. And then I'm going to add in my units. So 842. 843, 844, 845, 846, 847, 848. 848. Now, this is a really important part. Once I've got my answer, I need to put the decimal point back into my answer. So let's have a look here. I've got 2 digits after the decimal point. So my answer is going to need to have 2 digits after the decimal point. So that's right, you know, you've got it. It's 8.48. You know, that's my answer to the question. So what if you need to carry? Well, you use exactly the same procedure. Let's have a look at an example together to help you to understand. Here we have 7.8 plus 2.3. I've written out the problem again, and I've taken out the decimal point just to make things easier on my brain. I mustn't forget to put the decimal point back when I've finished working out my answer. So let's start. 7 tens plus 2 tens. That gives me 90. Now I've got 8 ones. 98. See, I'm always keeping a running total. Now I have to add on 3 more ones. I'm to do that by counting on 98, 99, 100, 101. Okay. So, where do I put my decimal point? Do you remember? Well, we have 1 digit after the decimal point. So I need to have 1 digit after the decimal point in my answer. So I drop my decimal point in here. My answer is 10 whole ones and 1/10, or 10.1. Let's look at one more example using slightly larger numbers. 12.72 plus 14.19. Our first step is to rewrite out our problem. This time we've got more columns to deal with, but we do exactly the same thing. What's the name of this column? And this column here? It's the thousands. So I have 1,000 plus another 1,000. That's 2,000. Then I add on my hundreds. 2,200, 2,600. Now I move to my tens. 2,670. Plus one more 10, 2,680. Finally, I add my units in. 2,682. Oh, now I need to count on. Okay. It might be easier to start with the 9 and then add the 2, because in addition it doesn't matter which order we do things in. 2,689. Now I'm going to add my 2. 2,689, 2,690, 2,691. To finish my problem, I have to put my decimal point back in. There are 2 digits after the decimal point. I need to have 2 digits after the decimal point in my answer. So, the answer to this problem is going to be 26.91. Remember, it's simple to add decimals in your head. Just keep track of your total as you go, and don't forget to put your decimal point back when you're done. Remember, you can keep watching this video to help you. So if you're struggling, if you're stuck and there isn't a teacher handy, watch the video again and hopefully you'll pick up the things that you're stuck on. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck with your maths this week.